Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another 777. I am joined by my co host, Nick. Nick, tell them what you've been working on.
What is up? Still working on Play-Doh. Finished part one, working on part two. I do have notes for some other stuff that I have ideas on, but like sacred geometry at certain places and there's certain like acoustics and somatics and all that crap. At a couple of places, but yeah, besides that, I mean, just working on two-part, it'll be a three-part series. Two parts done by me and one part with the rest of the crew. This Friday, we do have should hopefully be finishing up that gateway thing. So that should be fun.
That will be fun.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. I think a lot of people are sleeping on that whole gateway process, but there's so much deep information in there that you could just matrix in with all the stuff that they took it from.
Yeah, they got that. Yeah. Also want to do auras with you and Bennett eventually before I forget. And I have Johannes Kepler dropping Friday.
All right.
Yeah, so that should be interesting. You know, the fun fact with him, another thing I find weird, and I don't know if you were reading the chat, the suggestion that I had for doing that kid shield divulgence. Even Johannes Kepler, he's the one who decided when Jesus' birthday was.
Right.
Like, I just find it like, the Christians realize how many occultists and alchemists and mystics shape their fucking belief?
All of them? Well, you know, it's one of those things where the mystical side of Christianity is really, really hidden from the mainstream.
It doesn't even exist anymore.
Well, I think they're trying to bring it back, but it's just there's nobody who's, you know, into that anymore. I mean, a couple people, but it used to be much bigger, especially in the second or the Holy Roman Empire. Alchemy and that sort of mystical, spiritual Christianity was really big there. But you know what happened? You know, where'd they go?
You know, I found interesting too a while ago, even when I was like in the OTO at some point, even Christian magic was kind of big amongst ceremonial magicians. Like all of a sudden, like, it's just dead now. I don't know.
Right. Well, a lot of outside influences are causing people to step away from it, I think.
Yeah, I even wonder, like, does Christianity, like, all of a sudden nowadays, I hate to say it, like, all of a sudden, like, be synonymous with politics?
Right.
So, like, now you're going to hate it because you're going to think a Christian's automatically Republican. You know,
or our greatest ally, so.
Yeah, fucking Jesus Christ. Okay.
But we just started on 777, so that was all the lead up, right?
Yeah, right. That was all like the introduction, really.
Really. And I guess after 777, he goes into 418, right? I don't know. We'll get there. 777 revised. Vel prolegomena symbolica ad systemam septico mysticae via whatever, a lot of Latin. Reprint. Sammy Weiser, New York. All right.
You want me to read some of the start it off? Or?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm not going to
get down to it. Do you want to do it the editorial or?
Yeah, well, it says the following is an attempt. Start from there, right? Oh, let me make sure I'm looking at the same page as you.
No, 777 is the Kabbalist. This is page number 73.
Oh, geez, I'm on 75. My bad. Editorial preface. Yes. All right, I'll start from there. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. 777 is a Kabbalistic dictionary of ceremonial magic, Oriental mysticism, comparative religion, and symbology. It is also a handbook for ceremonial invocation and for checking the validity of dreams and visions. It is indispensable to those who wish to correlate these apparently diverse studies. It was published privately by Aleister Crowley in 1909 and has long been out of print and is now practically unprocurable. Crowley, who had a phenomenal memory, wrote it at Bournemouth in a week without reference books, or so he claimed in an unpublished section of his Confessions. It is not, however, entirely original. 90% of the Hebrew, the four color scales, and the order and the attribution of the tarot trumps are as taught in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, and its inner circle of the Rose of Ruby and the Cross of Gold, RR at AC. This order is still in existence, though it has changed its name and is dormant, for it no longer accepts probationers. It was the fountainhead from which Crowley and W.B. Yeats drank at their 20s. In this school, they learned the traditional Western symbolism which colored so much of their poetry and their thought. In it, they were taught ceremonial magic, how to scry, and the technique for exploring the subtler realms of the mind on the so-called astral plane. Crowley, however, was not content with the traditional Kabbalistic teaching of the Western Hermetic order with its stress on magic and demonology. He traveled eastwards, becoming a fair Arabic scholar and studying the Mohammedan secret tradition under a qualified teacher in Cairo. Going to India, he learned the elements of Shavit Yoga, if I'm saying that right, at the feet of Sri Parananda, who was Solicitor General of Ceylon before he became Sadhu. In southern India, he studied Vedanta and Raja Yoga with the Mahatma Jnana Guri Yogi, all these fucking names, Sabhapati Swami. He was thus qualified to equate the Hindu and Kabbalistic systems. Alan Bennett, his friend and teacher in the Golden Dawn, had become the Burmese Buddhist bhikkhu Ananda Mataya. Crowley studied under him both in Ceylon and Burma, and so was able to add the Hinayana Buddhist columns to 777. Although he walked eastwards into China, he never found a qualified teacher on Taoism or the Yi King. His attributions of the trigrams to the tree of life and his explanation. Sorry, I just came off the screen. What was that? And his explanation of the hexagram in Appendix 1 to 777 were based on Legg's translation. Crowley was only 32 when he wrote 777. Later, as his knowledge and experience widened, he became increasingly dissatisfied with it. He planned an enlarged edition which would correct a few errors, incorporate much new material, and bring the whole into line with the Book of the Law. He worked on this in the 1920s, but never completed it. What he did finish is published here, most of it, for the first time. The task of editing has been restricted for the most part to the omission of incomplete notes. The new material, which is marked with an asterisk in the table of contents, consists of an essay on the magical alphabet, a short note on Kabbalah, and a new theory on number. Then the more important columns in Table 1 are explained. These explanations include a few corrections and a number of important additions to the original table. Those who wish to work with these tables, pages 2 through 36, should extract the additions from the text and add them to the appropriate lines of the columns concerned. Finally, some new columns and arrangements have been included, partly from the Book of Thoth and partly from holograph notes in Crowley's own 777. The editor has assumed that Crowley intended to incorporate these in new edition. For the few interested in gematria, the numerical values of the Greek and Arabic alphabets have been added. Crowley never completed 777 revised, but he left enough material to justify its publication. And then,
all right. 777. Vel prolegema symbolica ad systemam septio, all the Latin again. The following is an attempt to systematize alike data from the mysticism and the results of comparative religion. The skeptic will applaud our labors for that the very Catholicity of the symbols denies them any objective validity, since in so many contradictions something must be false, while the mystic will rejoice equally that the self-same Catholicity, all embracing, proves that very validity. After all, something must be true. Fortunately, we have learnt to combine these ideas not in the mutual toleration of sub-contraries, but in the affirmation of contraries, that transcending the laws of intellect, which is madness in the ordinary man, genius in the overman who hath arrived to strike off more fetters from our understanding. The savage who cannot conceive of the number 6, the orthodox mathematician who cannot conceive of the fourth dimension, the philosopher who cannot conceive of the absolute. All these are one. all must be impregnated with the divine essence of the phallic yod of macroprosopus and give birth to their idea. True, we may agree with the Balzac, the absolute recedes, we never grasp it, but in the traveling there is joy. I am no better than a staphylococcus because my ideas still crowd in chains. Is that really a question? What was that? But we digress. Who's we? The last attempts to tabulate knowledge are the Kabbalah Dendata of Nor von Rosenroth, a work incomplete and in some of its parts prostituted to the service of dogmatic interpretation. The lost symbolism of the vault in which Christian Rosenkreutz is said to have been buried. Some of the work of Dr. Dee and Sir Edward Kelly, and some very imperfect tables in Cornelius Agrippa, the art of Raymond Lully. Some of the very artificial effusions of the esoteric theosophists of late years, the knowledge of the order of Rubia at Aurore Crucius, and the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Unluckily, the leading spirit of these latter societies found that his prayer, "Give us this day our daily whiskey and just a wee drappy mare for luck," was sternly answered. When you have given us this day our daily knowledge lecture. Under these circumstances, Doth got mixed with Dwar and Beelzebub with Buchanan. But even the best of these systems is excessively bulky. Modern methods have enabled us to concrete the substance of 20,000 pages in 2 score. The best of the serious attempts to systematize the results of comparative religion is that made by Blavatsky, but though she had an immense genius for acquiring facts, she had none whatever for sorting and selecting the essentials. Grant Allen made a very slipshod experiment in this line, so we have some of the polemical rationalists, but the only man worth our notice is Fraser of the Golden Bough. Here again, there is no tabulation for us. It is left to sacrifice literary charm and even some accuracy in order to bring out the one great point. This, that when a Japanese thinks of Hachiman, a bower of the Lord of Hosts, they are not two thoughts, but one. The cause of human sectarianism is not a lack of sympathy in thought, but in speech. And this is our not unambitious design to remedy. Every new sect aggravates the situation, especially the Americans. Grossly and capriciously ignorant as they are of the rudiments of any human language, yeah, just like me right there, seize like a mongrel curs upon the putrid bones of their decaying monkey jabber, and gnaw and tear them with fierce growls and howls. Stupid Americans.
Americans.
The mental prostitute, Mrs. Eddy, for example, having invented the idea of which ordinary people call the God christened it mind, and then by affirming a set of propositions about mind, which are only true of God, set all hysterical, dyspeptic, crazy America by the ears. Personally, I don't object to people discussing the properties of four-sided triangles, but I draw the line when they use a well-known word such as pig or mental healer or dung heap to denote the object of their paranormic fetishism. Even among the serious philosophers, the confusion is very great. Such terms as God, the Absolute Spirit, have dozens and dozens of connotations according to the time and place of the dispute and the beliefs in the disputants. Time enough that these definitions and their interpretation should be crystallized, even at some expense of accepted philosophical accuracy. I got to admit, I've had a lot of these same thoughts myself. He's right on board with Yeah, it's like you don't really have any good definitions for any of this stuff.
Yeah.
The principal sources of our tables have been the philosophers and traditional systems referred to above, as also, among others, Pietro de Abano, Lilly, Eliphas Levi, Sir R. Burton, Swami Vivekananda, and the Hindu, Buddhist, and Chinese classics, the Quran and its commentors, the Book of the Dead, and in particular, original research, the Chinese, Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, and Egyptian systems have never before been brought into line with the Kabbalah. The tarot has never been made public. Eliphas Levi knew the true attributions, but was forbidden to use them. All this secrecy is very silly. An imbecile arcanum is an arcanum that cannot be revealed. It is simply bad faith to swear a man to the most horrible penalties if he betray, etc., and then take him mysteriously apart and confide the Hebrew alphabet to his safekeeping. This is perhaps the only ridiculous, but it is also a wicked imposture to pretend to have it from Rosicrucian manuscripts, which are to be found in the British Museum. To obtain money on, this is probably true, although in arrangement to the statement of the traducer of Levi's doctrine in the vilifier of his noble personality. These grounds has been done by certain moderns is clear, and I trust in intactable fraud. You want to pick it up from there? The secrets of the adepts.
Yes. The secrets of the adepts are not to be revealed to men. We only wish they were. When a man comes to me and asks for the truth, I go away and practice teaching the differential calculus to a bushman. And I answer the former only when I have succeeded with the latter. But to withhold the alphabet of mysticism from the learner is the device of a selfish charlatan. That which can be taught shall be taught, and that which cannot be taught may at least be learnt. As a weary but victorious warrior delights to recall his battles, Forresten hac olem memenes juvabit, we would linger for a moment upon the difficulties of our task. I don't even know what the fuck that meant.
It's more Latin.
Yeah. The question of sacred alphabets has been adorned as hopeless. As one who should probe the nature of a woman, the deeper he goes, the roddener it gets, so that at last it is seen that there is no sound bottom. All is arbitrary. Withdrawing our caustics and adopting a protective treatment, we point to the beautiful clean bandages and ask the clinic to admire. To take one concrete example, the English T is clearly equivalent in sound to the Hebrew, the Greek, whatever that is, in the Arabic. I don't know what those letters are, and Coptic. But the numeration is not the same. So that's basically what I was getting at. Again, we have a clear analogy in shape, perhaps a whole series of analogies, which, on comparing the modern alphabets with primeval examples, breaks up and is indecipherable. The same difficulty in another form permeates the question of gods. Priests, to appropriate their local fetish, would flatter him with the title of creator. Philosophers, with a wider outlook, would draw identities between many gods in order to obtain a unity. Time and gregarious nature of man has raised gods as ideas grew more universal. Sectarianism has drawn false distinctions between identical gods for polemic purposes. Thus, we shall put Isis, favoring nymph of corn as she was, as the type of motherhood, as the moon, as the great goddess Earth, as nature, as the cosmic age which all nature sprang. For as time and place have changed, so she is all of these. What of Jehovah, the testy senior of early Genesis, that lawgiver of Leviticus, that war god of Joshua, that phallus of the depopulated slaves of the Egyptians, that jealous king god of the times of the kings, the more spiritual conception of the captivity, only invented when all temporal hope was lost, that medieval battleground of cross-chopped logic, that being stripped of all his attributes and assimilated to power Brahman and the absolute of the philosopher. Seen again, who in job is merely attorney general for and prosecutes for the crown, acquires in time all the obliquity attaining to that functionary in the eyes of the criminal classes, and becomes a slander. Does anyone really think that any angel is such a fool as to try to gull the omniscient God into injustice to his saints? Then, on the other hand, what of Moloch, that form of Jehovah denounced by those who did not draw huge profits from his rites? What of the savage and morose Jesus of the evangelicals? Cut their petty malice from the gentle Jesus of the Italian children. How shall we identify the thaumaturgic chauvinist of Matthew with the metaphysical logos of John? In short, while the human mind is mobile, so long will the definitions of all our terms vary. But it is necessary to settle on something. Bad rules are better than no rules at all. We may then hope that our critics will aid our acknowledged feebleness, and if it be agreed that much learning hath made us mad, that we may receive human treatment and a liberal allowance of rubber cores in our old age.
I'll take it.
Yeah, sorry, I gotta get a drink.
All right. The tree of life is the skeleton on which the body of truth is built. The juxtaposition and proportion of its parts should be fully studied. Practice alone will enable the student to determine how far an analogy may be followed out. Again, some analogies may escape a superficial study. The beetle is only connected with the sign Pisces through the tarot trump, the moon. The camel is only connected with the high priest through the letter Gemel. Since all things whatsoever, including no thing, may be placed upon the tree of life, the table could never be complete. It is already somewhat unwieldy. We have tried to confine ourselves as far as possible to lists of things generally unknown. It must be remembered that the lesser tables are only divided from the 32-fold table in order to economize space. The 7-fold table, the entries under Saturn, belong to the 32nd part in the large table. We have been unable for the moment to tabulate many great systems of magic. The 4 lesser books of the Lemegeton, the system of Abramelin, if indeed its kleptotic ramifications are susceptible of classification. Once we follow it below the great and terrible demonic triads, which are under the presidency of the unutterable name, the vast and comprehensive system shadowed in the book called the Book of the Concourse, and of the forces interwoven as its with the tarot being indeed on one view little more than an amplification and practical application of the Book of Thoth. But we hope that the present venture will attract scholars from all quarters, as when the wounded Satan leaned upon his spear. Forthwith, on all sides, to his aid was run by angels many and strong, and that in the course of time a far more satisfactory volume may result. Many columns will seem to the majority of people to consist mere of lists with senseless words. Practice and advance in the magical or mystical path will enable them little by little to interpret more and more. Even as a flower unfolds beneath the ardent kisses of the sun, so will this table reveal its glories to the dazzling eye of illumination. Symbolic and barren as it is, yet it shall stand for the athletic student as a perfect sacrament, so that reverently closing its pages he shall exclaim, "May that of which we have partaken sustain us in the search for the quintessence, the stone of the wise, the summum bonum, true wisdom and perfect happiness. So mote it be."
So mote it be.
That's where that came from.
Oh yeah, you know what? I totally forgot. Yeah, that's used in witchcraft a lot. But Crowley was saying that shit in that shit's mentioned in the Gnostic Mass.
Yes, sir.
And when I heard that, I was like, oh, okay. So again, that's another Wicca influence.
Right. right? If we do another show on Wicca, I think that would be so great to have her on, that lady that was on there too. Because it's
I don't
like
know.
she's very honest about their history. That's one of the things that pissed me off about a lot of these Wicca people is like I'm reading in Crowley books exactly what you guys are talking about here, and you guys are unwilling to even look at it because you don't like Crowley.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Oh yeah, the lady that was Michelle, right? From the store that's
Yeah.
over by my house. Yeah, yeah,
Her
cool
and
lady.
Michelle.
I would definitely have her on again. She was nice. I actually went down to the store and brought her a t-shirt today.
Oh, nice.
Hoping that she would wear it at the store. Advertisement.
Right. Right. Well, what do you say? You want to end it there and then come back to that next time?
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. We're coming down to it. We're going to get into the tables here pretty soon, and then it's going to be up to all of us to kind of figure these things out.
Yeah, the table
that's the way
part
it sounds.
fun. That'll be fun and a lot easier to understand and just more interesting, I think. That's
All right. Well, they sound a little bit like puzzles. So he's including a bunch of puzzles, and hopefully we can, piece together the associations that causes the puzzle to come alive. Hopefully.
Yes.
But thank you guys for joining again, and we will see you again next time. Bye.
Later.